It started with a bag, a seemingly ordinary bag of garbage left on the roadside in Mons, Belgium. But inside, a severed human limb. Soon, more bags began to appear, each containing grotesquely dismembered body parts. Between 1996 and 1997, an unknown killer butchered at least 5 women, scattering their remains across the region. To this day, they remain unidentified, known only as the Butcher of Mons. March 22nd, 1997. A police officer in Quem, a suburb of Mons, spots a suspicious black garbage bag by the roadside. Inside, human arms and legs. Over the next few days, more bags appear, dumped along roadsides, in fields, and near rivers. The contents? More body parts. But there was something chillingly methodical about these discoveries. The cuts were precise, and the bags were tied in a distinct manner, suggesting organization and ritual. Authorities quickly realized that they were dealing with a serial killer, and as forensic investigators began piecing together the body parts, they identified 5 distinct victims. The victims were all women, aged between 21 and 43. They came from different backgrounds, but many had troubled lives. They struggled with addiction, mental health issues, or they were tied to the Mons red light district. So what is the Mons red light district? Well, during the 1990s, Mons had a notorious red light district centered around the train station area. The station and surrounding streets were known for sex work, drug dealing, and transient populations. It was a dangerous place, frequented by people society often overlooked, women struggling with addiction, homelessness, or past trauma. Some of the victims were known to spend time in these areas, making them easy targets for a predator who can just lure them away without suspicion. The confirmed victims were Carmelina Russo, aged 42, who disappeared in January of 1996. Her pelvis was found in a river. She had recently visited her son in prison before vanishing. Russo was a shop demonstrator and had no connection to sex work, suggesting the killer may have had multiple victim profiles. The next victim was Martine Bon, 43 years old. She was last seen in July 1996. Her torso, with breasts surgically removed, was recovered from the Haine River. Bon was transgender and had previously worked as a sex worker in bars across Belgium and France. The brutal mutilation of her body suggests the killer harbored deep rage or a personal vendetta. Jacqueline Leclerc, 33, a mother of 4, vanished in December 1996. Her limbs were the first to be found in March 1997. She had financial struggles and was known to frequent the train district, possibly engaging in survival sex work. The next victim, Natalie Godart, 21, missing since early 1997, her severed head was found in a plastic bag near an abandoned factory. A young mother who had recently lost custody of her child, Godart was last seen in a vulnerable state, making her an easy target. Begonia Valencia, 37, a woman with schizophrenia, disappeared mid-1997. Her skull was found months later in a field. She was physically frail and often wandered the streets alone, making her an easy victim for an opportunist predator. The pattern was clear. The Butcher of Mons targeted marginalized women, sex workers, struggling mothers, those with mental health issues, people who wouldn't be immediately missed or whose disappearance wouldn't cause immediate alarm. He operated in the shadows, preying on those society had already abandoned. The victims were not just murdered, they were discarded like trash. Their remains packaged in plastic bags thrown away in locations carefully chosen by the killer. how did the butcher of Mons operate? Based on forensic analysis, experts believe the killer strangled his victims before dismembering them. The precise way the bodies were cut led to early speculation that the murderer was a surgeon or a butcher. But later analysis disproved that theory. Some cuts were crude and repeated, suggesting someone without professional anatomical knowledge. The most disturbing aspect, the timing. Some body parts were preserved and only dumped months after the women had disappeared. This suggests the killer may have had a freezer or storage space, allowing him to keep remains before disposal. And the bags? They were unique. A specific type sold only in a few stores, including one in Mons. But despite these clues, the case proved difficult to crack. Belgian police launched a massive investigation. A special task force called Corpus was formed, and forensic experts worked tirelessly to identify the victims. DNA profiling, still a new technique at the time, was used to match remains. The FBI, who was consulted, suggested that the killer was a highly organized male in his 30s or 40s who possibly stored the victims' bodies before disposal. But there were major challenges. The bodies were found in public location, weeks or months after the killings. This made it super hard to recover crucial forensic evidence, and by the time investigators started making connections to the victims, most clues had gone cold. Authorities pursued over 800 leads and questioned more than 1,000 people, but no arrests were made, and by 1998, the murders had stopped as suddenly as they began. Was the killer dead? Was he jailed for another crime? Or did he simply move on? Over the years, multiple suspects emerged, but no one was ever charged. Leopold, quote-unquote, the gypsy, Bogaert, a homeless man with ties to victim Natalie Godart, was arrested but later released. His DNA didn't match the evidence. Small Tulha, an Albanian serial killer known for dismembering victims, was briefly considered. He lived in Belgium in the 1990s, but was ultimately never linked to the Mons murders. There's also another theory called the NATO soldier theory. It suggested that a foreign soldier stationed at Shape, a nearby military base, could have been the killer, disposing of bodies during his rotation in Belgium. But no concrete evidence supported this. One of the most compelling theories? The garbage bags. Years later, investigators traced the bags to a single discount store in Mons. The store closed in mid-1997, the same time the killing stopped. The store owner, known only as BM, was never interrogated at the time. In 2023, new pressure from journalists and the victims' families led authorities to reopen this lead. Could BM have been the killer all along? The butcher of Mons was no ordinary killer. He was calculated, methodical, and he vanished without a trace.